This is the beginning of the podcast. We want to thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and neighbors, grandparents, relatives. We've now achieved being in the top 2 million podcasts for entrepreneurship. Not all just entrepreneurship, but this is the official beginning of the podcast.
Way to
Okay,
kick
let
things off.
it roll. Fucking go for it, baby.
What do we got to talk about during the off season? Like,
I don't know, Mike. You're usually the one with all the topics.
I do have something that we can get into, but it's not trivia because that didn't go over so well. But I do have something else that we can get into that might actually bring value to somebody.
Oh, good God.
The amount of value is yet to be seen. Do you guys want to jump into it right now?
Jump into it.
All right.
2 feet. Jump right in.
So, beginning of the season, people might be looking into hiring people. So, I've gone ahead and created an interview, a set of interview questions to help people out that they might want to tailor to their own business. So, I'm going to ask you guys the question as if you wanted to apply to my business to become a laborer and leave behind your successful businesses to start again from the bottom. But
this is a great activity.
Ages since I've had to apply for a laborer's position.
I like this. I love this activity.
Yeah.
This is
good. So I say a string of questions, but really I've only got 2 good questions here. So
it's not really a string.
Yeah. Take it as you will here. But first one here. If you're sitting down and getting interviewed by a hardscape business owner, you might hear this one. If you were a hardscape tool, what hardscape tool would you be?
The sod stretcher.
And why would you be a sod stretcher, Mike?
They're hard to find, but when you do find them, they're really useful.
Ooh, that's deep.
That is deep, baby. That is deep.
As opposed to a brick stretcher? You'd rather be the sod stretcher than the brick stretcher?
That's just the first. Yeah, the first stretcher that came to my mind.
Whatever stretcher.
That was the stretcher. That was the stretcher that came to my mind.
The sod stretcher.
The sod stretcher.
I've needed a good sod stretcher once or twice in my career.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Using that wheelbarrow of scraps to finish her up, baby.
We always use our scraps. Like whenever we're doing city sod, not a morsel of sod is left behind. None.
Yeah.
We're not paid for extra, so every little scrap goes on that site. There's mosaics of sod pieces.
It all goes green.
It all turns green as long as you water it. Give it 2 weeks. It's sprouting right up there.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So what tool are you, Chad?
I don't know. You probably took the best answer to that question. I was going to say something like a quick cut. I don't, because I'm loud and efficient and dirty. I guess I don't know.
Do you have wheels on the bottom so we can roll you around?
Roll me around. No, a still, because they're the most reliable. Because that Hilti won't start now.
Mike,
it won't start.
It won't. Well, can you blame it? It's been sitting in the shop collecting bird shit for 4 years.
Oh, I see.
Now, so I had to sell a saw one time, like a big, those big medieval table saws with the water before they had those dustless saws. So we had one of those, but it had to weigh 300 pounds. This thing, like it took 2.5 men to set it up, and it was bonkers. Like, but the day we sold it, it ran fine its whole career. The day I went to sell it, it wouldn't fucking start up, and so I had to like knock off like $300 or $400 off the saw because he still wanted it. But I'm like, he wanted to make a deal, so whatever. But anyway, this thing, in order to set it up, I'm not sure if you guys remember.
Do you think that you're that saw, not a quick cut?
I was thinking the same.
Kind of big and bulky, and when you really need someone, when you really need it to work, you back out.
I am absolutely not that saw. No.
Fan.
I like to think in a pinch I get the job done. But
Nice.
this thing, like one man on each side, and then a man holding like the scissor table that goes on the bottom.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
table.
And then it's not quite right, so someone like catches their finger underneath and they start screaming, and what a fucking nightmare that thing. I don't miss that thing one bit. And then you lose the drain plug for it. And so
Yes.
it's like you
You
put
gotta shove a plastic bag in it.
a plastic bag, and by the time you need to dig it out at the end of the day, it's all in a slurry. Oh my God.
And you're trying wherever you're cutting, you can't dump the water, so you're trying to hawk the saw.
You're
without
wheeling
spilling-
it
yeah,
awkwardly.
spilling the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times, baby. Good times.
That's
Absolutely.
ancient aliens now. But
What tool are you, Mike?
If I was applying, I was thinking about this. If I was applying for some sort of leadership position, I would say I'm a string line because I get people to fall in line. So
Nice.
that would be my line if I was
That's
ever
cute.
asked
Perfect.
that.
a string line or a chalk line? Do you guys use chalk lines?
Yeah.
Oh, I've used chalk lines.
Yeah. Some crews I've been on, they absolutely need their chalk line. Others, they want the string line. And I think it's an aggressive debate between the two. Like if you bring out a chalk line to the string line guys, they're pissed. And if you bring out a string line to the chalk line guys, what the fuck are we going to use this for? And it's
Do you do the chalk line in your screed bed and follow that?
we just set up an old string line now.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, but we used to do that. Yeah. But then someone doesn't hold their finger in the right place, or it moved or something, and then there's more fighting on the job. There's always fighting on the jobs. Like, oh, back
There's
in the old days, at
a
least.
lot of fighting on job sites.
Yeah, that's
There was no safe spaces back in the old days.
no.
No. A
And
lot of
that's what
people being
Yeah.
horribly mean to you every day.
that's what that saw brought up in my mind is how terrible we were to each other all the time. I remember working on a resident, like we were a commercial landscape company back with the company I worked for before Natural Design. And sorry, my dog's going off. He just had surgery. Try to ignore it if he's coming through the headset or whatever there. But we were working on a residential landscape job, and a guy just prepped a new tube of glue, and he was squeezing it because it wasn't coming out the end of the tube. And it was like 35 degrees, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We were getting ready to glue these caps, and he's squeezing this tube, or the plunger on the tube, and it just explodes all over my chest. And we didn't wear shirts then, because who would wear a shirt at a landscape company in the early 2000s?
In Cornwall.
In Cornwall, especially. So, and he just starts laughing, and I'm covered in PL, brick glue. So, and it takes days to get PL off. So you have a black chest for the rest of the week or whatever. And
then you had good sunblock.
Yeah. So I didn't get a sunburn that day. But that's it.
I remember. So while Chad's story of PL, I remember a job site where guys like emptied a tube of PL into a guy's like ass crack.
Are you serious?
No way. Did that actually happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would have been livid. How do you get that out?
I don't know.
Was he a hairy man?
Oh, he was a hairy guy. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I don't remember the repercussions of that. I remember them being. I don't know if he did something, and the repercussions of that were the ass crack gluing, or the ass crack gluing was first, and then the repercussions. I don't remember the whole story. I just remember having to deal with the whole consequences of the thing.
What were the consequences? What?
Well, I just remember. I just remember someone like calling me and like being.
What a conversation!
Someone filled someone's ass crack with PL, and I was like, "Wow, I gotta do something different with my life here."
That's one of those landscape myths. Like everybody knows somebody who did that, but nobody knows the actual person who did that.
Oh, I know who did it, and I know who it was done to, but I'm not. I'm just gonna let that all remain anonymous, and if people don't want to believe it happened, then that's their right. We live in a semi-free country here.
Semi.
At least 75%. Well, we can get, they can now stop the spreading of this podcast if the government disagrees with it. So, right, they passed that bill. Yeah, they can control internet content. So there you go.
Yeah, that's true.
So don't. Yeah, just be careful. You're not saying anything anti. I love Justin Trudeau. He's the best person ever. And now our podcast will be free to the world because we love him.
I literally just thought about this today and how much our government funds the media and how much of I don't know what's the word for that, contradiction, conundrum.
That's a good word.
Conflict of interest, that is.
There you go.
Right?
It's a vast conflict of interest. Oh, yes.
And then if a business model is that broke that the government needs to fund it, isn't it time to kind of just let it go?
No, it's almost like a large U.S. bank. Our media is basically a large U.S. bank.
Yeah.
When they collapse, we keep them afloat, give everyone a bonus. Oh, wow. Hey, that happened. I'm not making it up.
That's true.
Just saying an observation. Our Canadian media is similar to being a very large U.S. bank. They're both just propped up by the government. Like, no one's actually trying to make any money, I guess. Like Canadian media for sure. But anyway, yeah. So like, I love Justin Trudeau. He's the greatest guy ever. And Christina Freeland is a brilliant person and a brilliant speaker. And I'm proud of her for being at the WEF forum.
With Mike.
Alongside Mike. With Mike at the WEF forum. Yeah. So that means now this podcast can be spread to the masses because we are liberal supporters.
The masses of Canada only.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Can they maybe they shut down US feeds too? Shadow
put up in a hot air balloon and send it over to the States.
Can we get a Not Our Finest Hour hot air balloon for promotional and send it across the US?
Now, not only is Canada listening into this conversation, China's listening into this conversation.
Well, we do have a TikTok account.
Oh, yeah.
So they know everything about us already.
They must have hardscapers. They built the Great Wall. Or that's more of a masonry wall, I suppose, eh?
Maybe. I don't know.
Do you think it's dry stack? Or do you think it's
I think it's dry stack.
Dry stack?
There's a skull and then a piece and then a skull and then, it's all dry stacked together.
Skull.
Nice mixture of materials. That's true. I didn't make it up.
There's a skull in the wall?
Yeah, there's all kinds of bones and stuff in that wall. People died, they just threw them in the wall, kept building.
Yeah.
They weren't as emotional about people dying back then because a lot of people just died.
Back in the old days.
The good old days.
Now it's soft. Now we're so soft.
We're so soft. We care. We don't want to use people's skull to build our house. I remember back in the day when I used to live in the skull house. Things were so much better then when I was growing up in the.
When's the last time you got a call to put a skull
house
in a
built
client's wall?
House built of skulls. Talking about. Back in the old days.
What's the weirdest thing you guys have dug up?
Saint Stella House.
Oh, what?
I think it's a French Canadian thing, or like a religious thing. There's this certain saint of good luck or something. Someone will know, but they take it and they bury it upside down in their garden in hopes that it'll help them sell their house.
Oh, interesting.
We've dug up like 3 of them so far in 15 years or whatever. I don't know if it helped them sell the house or not, but that's the weirdest thing I've ever dug up.
Did you know about it before you dug it up? Like, did you dig it up and think, oh, it's
not
the saint that sells houses?
No, I think a client had to tell us one time, actually, that we found out. But maybe it's a French Canadian thing.
No. I have some stories about digging places, but I'm not sure that it was a long time ago, but I still think people might frown on some of the stuff that happened. Like, it was like when I was 19, so we're talking like 30 years ago. I
The
guess that
statute of limitations is
I feel like that's so we were doing this job around this lake on north on Young Street, and they said get the dirt from here. So we went over to the place that was told to us by the municipality, and we started digging. And then all of a sudden, this car came. We dug like, I don't know, 10, 15 loads of dirt out of the hill. And all of a sudden, this car came whipping in and was like, you can't dig there. And I was like, okay, well, this is where the guy told us to dig. This is an indigenous burial ground.
whoa.
Well, they didn't actually say, they used a different word, but we don't use that word anymore. So it was an indigenous burial ground. I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck? No one told me that. And then the tradition for this tribe was to bury their dead standing up. So I feel we didn't encounter, but I can't say 100% because they said, how many loads of dirt you removed from here? And I said, none. This is the first load.
So you were hoping there wasn't any really tall people there.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Might have built that park with skulls.
Holy shit.
I did not go and pilfer through the 15 tons of dirt.
We're harvesting skulls for the wall.
That was another time we were building a park that was like some kind of cemetery like 300 years ago or something for pioneers, and then we were building a park, so you could dig, but if you encountered any bones, you had to like immediately make someone aware, because over time the bones come up to the surface, so because they're always working their way up, I guess. So like in the park, people would just find random bones. So it was the only job we had going on. So I was like,
Is
hey,
that a real thing? Bones come up to the surface?
Bones float.
I guess I'm just telling you what they told us, that because the people were buried in shallow graves 300 years ago, and then if they were even in a coffin, it's clearly rotten, that the bones, because of the frost heave or whatever, they start to, whether this is true or not, I'm just telling you what they told me. So, but it was the only job we had going on at the time. So I was like, if anyone sees a fucking bone, you kick some dirt over it, because finding a bone would shut down the whole fucking job, right?
Yeah.
But one day we were driving on the highway, and I'm looking at the dashboard of the truck, and there's like some bones there. And I'm like, the fuck did those come from? They're like, some guy, I don't remember who it was. He's like, oh, I found him in the park. I'm like, oh, fuck. Threw them out the window on the highway. Like, goodbye, bones. Like, let's all never mention this again. So I got to pay my fucking mortgage this month. We can't shut this job down.
That's wild.
It was a different time. I was around that job happened around the time I was also like, my life was really fucked. I was like, I'm
Naturally.
Yeah, it was just, now I might be caring deeper about the bones, but at that point I was like, whatever. My life's so fucked up. Throwing these bones out on the highway, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? Like, I get haunted? I don't know. They could have been dog bones too. I don't fucking know what kind. I didn't do an analyzation on them. I just said, where the fuck did those bones come from? Like, oh, the park. I'm like, out the window they go. Oh, fuck yeah. Goodbye, bones. Nice fucking knowing you.
I found a full cat skeleton in a load of mulch.
In a load of mulch?
Yeah. So
cat died in the mulch?
So I used to live at the yard that I own now. They have an apartment there. And one fall we got a load of mulch delivered to the yard that didn't get used up before the end of the season. So it stayed there. Coincidentally, it was right outside my front door. And in the spring, whenever we went to load up some mulch in the bobcat bucket, we found a cat skeleton. Pretty crazy. Like a full cat skeleton. It was cool.
The cat crawled into the mulch and
expired.
Expired
in the mulch.
One time we were doing mulch around this pond, and the guy operating the skid steer was smoking, and he was talking to me, and he flicked his cigarette into the mulch, like his cigarette butt, and the mulch caught on fire and
No way.
started burning. Oh yeah. The fuck up. We're like, oh my god, trying to put out the fucking mulch. Like,
How did you put it? Like, was it an aggressive fire or was it like a pretty?
I don't remember. I don't know if I was standing there when he flicked this, or he was he flicked his cigarette into the mulch, and then I turned around and the mulch was on fire, and we all ran over and stomped it out and pulled it apart and shoveled. Oh, it was fuck yeah! I've had all kinds of like, maybe not what I've dug up, but I've had some bizarre things happen. Like, oh my god, fuck, the mulch is on fire.
What about you, Mike? What have you dug up?
I don't think I've dug up anything crazy yet.
Yeah.
Lots of like toys,
Yeah.
like a little Tonka truck thing and figurines, but nothing too crazy just yet.
We did a job in the city where we dug up like a cavern. There's a video of it on my Instagram, like 5 years ago. We were ripping up this parking lot, and as we ripped it up, there was like a sheet of steel. So we lifted up the steel, and there was like a cavern under it. So we when we were redoing the park, we threw a few skeletons from the dollar store in there, and then put the steel back down, and then covered it in dirt, because we figured sooner or later someone's digging that up again.
Yeah.
More than likely,
someone's going to have to pay their mortgage, and then they're going to find bones,
and they're going to find bones. The whole thing's going to be completely fucked.
They may be having one of the worst weeks of their life.
They could be having a bad week. Absolutely, could be maybe a negative week.
Yeah.
What's your second question, Mike?
Oh yeah, right. Second question and last question, because I literally just thought about this segment, so I only had time to think of two questions here. If you were, so here's my creativity coming to show. It's the exact same question, but if you were a paver, what paver would you be? Or a wall product, hardscape material, whatever. You can lean into color, shape, size, texture, but what paver defines who you are?
Do I have to go first again, Chad?
Anybody has to go first. I thought of one for Chad when I thought about this question. Have you guys seen those natural stone square cut, but it's got like fossils running through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Chad because he's got tattoos.
Oh.
They have a rainbow square cut. It's called Rainbow. It's a square cut. It's lots of
I've seen
colors.
that.
Yeah.
You never seen the fossil square cut?
No, we don't have those in Cornwall.
I guess.
We have we have tackle blocks, we have permacut. We have the two of the three big ones, and that's it.
I loved the fossil when I first saw it, and
you don't have square cut flag?
No.
You don't have
Janice? Yeah, you can get that.
Yeah, that's what he's
fossils. Special order.
Yeah, fossil would be special order for most.
Yeah. What about that new one with the fancy designs in the top of it?
Oh yeah, the sandblasted one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think I would use it personally.
Cyclical, right? Like that seems like an early 90s thing.
I would use it.
Would you use it?
I'd use anything.
I think I'd
as long as the client likes it. I don't.
Oh yeah, I guess so. But if I was designing something, it doesn't. I can see the appeal of it, and it does look cool what they've done with it. But I don't personally like it. But I guess it more so depends on if the client likes it.
Yeah.
Agreed. If I was a paver, what paver would I be? Not a wet cast paver. Although they're pretty fucked up. Well, no, wet cast pavers are okay. Wet cast slabs or wet cast walls. I don't know. I always like to think of myself as a 4x8. I'm old and reliable.
Traditional.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be something tumbled. Like, what is it, like Mega Bergerac or something like that?
Mega Bergerac. That's an oldie to pull out of the
That's
That's yeah,
and not all of our listeners will know.
I don't even know that.
Oh
Mega
no,
Bergerac.
Mega
No.
Oh,
Bergerac.
Mega Bergerac. I
Is
know.
That's
that is that like Forest Hill?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The Mega Bergerac.
yeah.
I could see Mike being a little bit of OVP.
What's OVP?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Oh,
know that one.
you guys want to talk old pavers? I can talk old pavers.
Let's go.
OVP,
Yeah.
Old Village paver.
Learn me something. What do those look like?
They look like Classico. They were a different version of Classico.
Is that like Stratford or Old Roman? No.
OVP is like Stratford.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Classico is all the big circles. When the big circles were a big thing, that's all those driveways are classic.
Okay.
And then Classico went out of sort of style, and then it became OVP.
So what time period would what we would call the Zenith brick come from?
What's a Xenix brick?
That's the zigzag ones.
Oh, the zigzag. Oh, I would say late 80s.
Late 80s?
Is that like from the Twitter thing I posted where I was like, if you needed a driveway for your '89 Porsche 928, these sweet bastards were the only option.
That's it. Yeah. The Clover one, we had the three pointed ones. Remember those?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would those be before or after?
The
I know
ones
you're
that were
talking about,
arrows.
Yeah, 3
Yeah,
points.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, once like that, there were three octagons
Yeah.
for a while. It was three octagons joined together on the common side.
Oh yeah.
Our city was big on the Keystone ones, like the octagon with the little
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
light that stuck out. Yeah, our
I
city.
I did a lot of Keystone terracotta
Oh yeah.
Keystone, baby. When that stuff came out, you knew you were in the shit. You were in good shape.
I haven't been asked to do a lift and relay in ages. Maybe because I don't answer the phone, but
Part of your problem.
yeah, part of the problem. But
Definitely part of your issue is phone answering.
maybe just for nostalgia's sake,
Yeah.
we'll do one or two this year. Maybe everything will go to shit and we'll need to. But anytime
I feel like things are turning around. I feel like there's some
I'm positive as well,
some positive fucking vibes right now. I feel like I'm on the I'm on the positive vibe train.
In most winters, do you guys get a bit of leads trickling in?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm flooded with commercial right now.
Okay, but more so residential.
Residential. I had one guy ask me to come out, take a look at his waterfront, and then it snowed again. So, well, there goes that. But, no, but I try not to book myself too thick this early off.
Right.
Like years ago, I used to be really horny for the work, right? Like, let's book them all in now, book till halfway through summer. But if you wait a bit, I feel like you can get better prices.
Oh yeah.
But I also feel like early on you need to kind of keep that schedule full because you'll have less word of mouth leads. That's actually at least that's how I felt. But this is probably my first off season where I'm getting like still a solid list of people messaging me, which is it's probably the first
perfect
time.
I need work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the offer for you offering some of your work, your fast leads that are flowing in.
You would come to Kitchener?
Oh yeah. Why
Would
wouldn't
you?
I go to Kitchener? I guess. Depends how desperate you are always. I'd prefer to work across the street from my fucking house, but there never seems to be any work over there at the fucking retirement condo. I was pricing a fair sized job today.
Yeah.
Yeah, with my pen and my paper and no fucking software.
Love it.
Yeah. That post actually got a lot of reaction.
Oh, did it? Was it a post or a story?
No, it was a post. It was a picture too, which, it's Instagram hates fucking pictures, but I'm old and I still like pictures with a little writing. And, my favorite thing about that post actually is because I don't always do it, but I was looking at the people who liked it. My favorite thing about that post is that one of the landscape software companies liked my post about hating landscape software.
Was that me?
No, it was not you. No, it was not you. It was a very specific stuff. So Yeah, people, and there's a lot of people that seem to like the pen and paper. I guess they don't want to know their fucking numbers.
I still do like a good pen and a paper.
As you're saying that, I'm going through to find it, and then I saw that X Power Eyewear liked it. They seem to be keeping in touch with the Paver King there.
I know, and the X-Power eyewear is in the truck, and I haven't been driving it because the whole alternator issue, which we may have talked about last week. Did
Yeah,
we talked about the alternator issue last week?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, how it's like one of only 200 trucks with this stupid fucking alternator on it. But
Oh
Brad,
yeah,
Brad
yeah.
did fix it and find it. So
You
uh,
can truck prices are coming down. You can pick up something new.
they are coming down. Yes.
They're quite coming down quite a bit.
I've been thinking a lot about the whole software thing. And well, I mean, okay, I don't mean software in general. I think, well, maybe not software, but just the whole genre of people who are making me trying to make me feel insecure and guilty because I use a pen and a paper and I don't calculate everything to every penny. And then it made me think about, is it like, is there a subsection of the population that are just naturally born entrepreneurs and understand the flow of money and understand the cost of things in their head and understand how to price themselves to make money and don't need to chase everything to every fucking penny because they just have an overall talent and natural ability to produce profit.
Wait a second. Are you comparing us to idiot savants right now?
No, I'm being serious. I'm being like, there's people who naturally can hit a home run
Yeah,
without any
yeah,
training.
yeah. No,
They
I'm
pick
in the
up
same
they
boat as you, right? Like
they pick up a fucking bat, they see the pitch and they hit a home run. No one breaks down their swing, no one fucking they just can do it. And I like, I was thinking about it because was it last week in the even worse hour and you were like, I have no idea what my costs are. I just know how to make money.
that's it. Like,
Yeah, you okay, so but
yeah.
I think when you said that and then I thought more about it, because I'm always thinking about you, Chad.
Right on. That's a surefire way to land your business in the can. Thinking
Well,
about me too much.
I all I'm saying is I understand why people are because but I think there is a group of people in life who just understand where you need to be to make money and naturally have it tracking in their brain all the time.
That could
Like
be true.
I understand where I need to be on things. I understand markup. I understand all those things. I don't on for me personally, I don't need a program to spit all that shit at me every fucking time I go to do a quote. That doesn't mean that I think it's bad. It just means that I don't personally need it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But I think there's also, like everything, there's a guy who made the NHL because he's just crazy fucking talented. Like Alexander Kovalev, never fucking practiced, smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and still scored 1,000 points in the NHL. Hey, that's true. But then there's another guy who was semi-talented and spent all the time to learn every drill, every fucking play, every breakout, and still made the NHL.
Yeah.
So I feel like even in entrepreneurship, because it doesn't matter whether it's landscaping or not, we just all happen to be in landscaping. There are people who are naturally gifted at making money and know how to track their numbers and know how to make positive decisions. And then there's people who are working hard to get there. And that's the difference because there's I don't think everyone like I'm not saying I think that all that stuff's valuable. It's just not for me. I've looked at all of it repetitively and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather not be in business than do this shit, than calculate all this stuff. I'd rather not. I know where I need to be in my head. I track our costs. I know what everything costs. I could probably most jobs I can guess within $500 of how much we spent on that job on $100,000-$200,000 project. I'll tell you within $500 where we are and how much money we made and how much we didn't, because it's just in my head. It's just how
Yeah.
my brain works. But then there's people whose brain doesn't work but then if you take me to do something where my brain doesn't work, I need help with that. And I need someone, and there's a million things in my life. Like if you told me to rebuild a motor or die, I would just hang myself. But then there's someone who can take a motor apart and put it back together and have no training.
Yeah.
So
So our skill set is knowing your numbers without the computer.
Or you just know how to make money.
Yeah. Maybe that's, and I like the point that you made where you said that if you had to do all that other shit, you'd rather fucking just not do it. You know, like if it came down to,
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
I don't want to. Maybe that makes me lazy, but I don't want to do that other shit. And thankfully, we're still productive or profitable without doing that other shit. Because that is the nail on the head. What I don't want to do in business is spend all my time at the computer crunching numbers.
but you guys also have many years of experience getting to understand not only the construction process, what goes into the construction process and the equipment, everything that would go into pricing a project. And you thoroughly understand how to come about an estimate based on that. And those are skills that you've had accumulate over the years that you couldn't easily pass off to somebody if you ever needed to, right? And that's
Agreed.
where a software would come into place if you did ever want to hire a sales estimator or a designer or all of the above that you could just pass on to, and then they just had to type in the square footage, and based on production rates and everything like that, they've got the number without having to absorb everything that you've learned over the many years to put into practice.
You're talking about if you wanted to make a scalable business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like Paver King's not a scalable business because I'm the one that does all the pricing.
But not just a scalable business. Like you may want to pass that off in the future, right? Because
or sell it.
You don't want to have to come home after being on a site for the whole day and have to do a quote. You might want somebody else to do that, just like you would hire out a truck driver or another laborer, right? That may be the other,
I don't know if
hire.
Yeah. So for me personally, and I know you're talking in a broader sense.
Yeah.
About everybody.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, I'll never hire someone to do that job.
Right.
Because it's just, you lose way too much. And I don't have aspirations of a $50 million company. If I had aspirations of a $50 million company, then I definitely need to do exactly what you're saying.
Right.
100%.
I have a problem. Like, I totally get like pen and paper works for you guys, where the thing that I have a problem with is a software that costs X amount of money that may not make sense for somebody's business model, and they feel pressure to get that software, even though they'd probably be better off just sticking with a pen and paper unless they plan to continuously scale their business. Right. I see so much with like anything, any type of tool or anything, saying like, hey, you can save X amount of money. So really paying X amount of money for the software makes sense. But you try to like transfer, and same thing with like coaching and mentorship. Hey, I'm going to save you $100,000, and my coaching program only costs $10,000. So why would you not take my coaching program, right? It doesn't make sense. It's like, I need food to survive. I don't pay my life for a piece of food every single day, right? That's where my hang up with, I guess, software. And maybe that went off completely on something that you weren't talking about there, but that's my hold up on that.
I think the scalable business is a giant fucking buzzword right now, right? Like everybody, all these gurus think they can make money off you by telling every business that they're a scalable business, whenever landscaping has a lot of fucking businesses that are just like a 2 or 3 man crew, and that's all they will ever be, which is completely fine, right? That's a great way to make a living. But
if that's your goal,
if that's your goal, right? Like, I mean, not everything has to be a scalable business.
And I see a lot of people when they're talking about this stuff, and I guess I save so much time. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I priced a big job today. I don't know where I would have, because every job to me, when you look at every single job, has a different production rate. Every job. There is no two, like, even if you're doing two driveways side by side, I guess maybe then you could use comparable production rates. But like, I'm looking at this job and the front is two intersecting squares, one on a 45, one not. Like, and you know, the one on a 45, that production rate on that square is different than the production rate on the other square. I don't use the same production rate. When I look at those two squares, I say, okay, there's this much square footage that we're going to spend an extra half day cutting because it's on a stupid ass fucking 45 because Nancy Green put it that way instead of just making it fucking square. So that 45 square is inherent. That's where I think some of this stuff is getting lost for people, is that if you want to plug in a standard, like, every job is customized. I don't know how, again, I've never used it and I've never really looked in depthly at it. So I don't know how, in the back, there was two big circles. One, like, they were just cut in circles, not like a circle pack, but cut in circles. One of those cut in circles was just a big cut in circle. Then there's a regular 90 patio in the middle. And then the other one is a big cut in circle and it's on a 45, which is just, but see, that rate is different because now you had to cut that anyways, but it's still more of a piss around than cutting. Like, it's, I don't know, like, it just, but now you have to lay it on a 45 and lay it. Every single piece of that had a different production rate when I did that job, when I was looking at that job. Yeah. So to take a blanket production rate and say, I lay 350 square feet a day, do you? Of 100 mil plank pavers on sand on a 45-degree angle? Yeah. Do you? I don't, like, maybe there are people who do. Maybe there are people who lay, whenever anyone talks to me about the production rates on those softwares, I don't know. I don't know how the softwares work. So I have no background when I say this, but it always makes me wonder because I'm like, on some job sites, I have 4 different production rates on the pavers, depending on how they're getting laid. Backyard, front yard, driveway, 45, tons of cutting, plank pavers, they all lay differently. Like, if you want to lay little baby pavers like Copthorne, your production rate is fucking ass because you got to put the same effort to put in little pavers as you do to put in one big one. You can lay a 12 by 12 in the same amount of time as you lay one Copthorne.
Yeah. So the softwares don't give you production rates. You have to do that yourself, right? And then that comes.
You have 25 of them?
I do. So I have a production rate. I have like small, medium, large. So I have like laying small pavers, laying medium pavers, laying large pavers. That would be like 4x8s, like blue, medium, and then slabs large. And then I have production rates for access, different widths that we can get different pieces of equipment into the backyard. And then I have production rates for length if we're doing a backyard patio. So how far of that length is it to get into the backyard? And not like specific, but once again, like that small, medium, large option.
What if you're cutting a circle on a 45?
Cutting a circle on a 45 is in an inlay?
I don't know. How do you define it? That's my question.
Well, that's where the customization of the software comes into play, where you're creating the production rates because it's your data.
Saying, like, how many of those are you going to create? Like, one for every job you bid? That's why I'm saying I feel like people could potentially be losing money because they're just plugging in a rate that they have. And this is how people describe it when they talk about it. Like, I pilfer through everything, but I also come from a commercial bidding background where you need to pilfer through fucking everything. Every single thing you have. Bidding residential work is a joke compared to bidding commercial work. Because bidding residential work is like, oh, I got to get some stuff for my paver. Like, bidding commercial work, you could miss the fucking glue, and the glue could be $300 a tube, and you think it's $3,
right?
Because it's some crazy specific spec. Residential work, you're just making up all the specs yourself.
Yeah,
it's totally different. Like, it's such a different. So maybe that's why I take a deeper dive into everything that I price. Like, maybe that's why I spend so much time on it, because I'm always looking at every single little thing I'm sure Chad has to too when he's bidding commercials. You miss one thing on a commercial job, you cost yourself 50 grand.
Oh, I've missed some stuff before, that's for sure.
So maybe that's the difference between maybe that's why it works great for, like, if someone doesn't give a shit about the difference between laying a driveway and laying a walkway, then the production rate works.
But at the end of the day, your production rate, you have production rates. They're just in your head, right? You're working that. How do you, I mean? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but how do you do it, Mike? Where you're sitting down with your pen and paper, and you know what the project's going to look like. Are you taking it step by step and being like, okay, excavation is going to take us X amount of hours based on us doing, like, how do you do it?
So I look at each piece of it.
So that's what I used to do when I did pen and paper. Well, like, I would really try to visualize it in my brain, right? Like step by step. Yeah, but ultimately, those are production rates. It's just not like defined production rates that are in pen.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't, at one house,
yeah,
cutting in a 45 square in the front yard is a different production rate than cutting a 45 square in at a different house, depending on the pavers you're using. And maybe when I bid stuff, I just look at it deeper and deeper than the average person.
Right.
Like, maybe the average person's happy to say, every single house that I cut a 45 on, every single paver, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, it's the same production rate. And maybe that's okay. It isn't for me.
But then doing that is like charging by square foot. Having that blanket like production rate, like you just said there, where I
don't charge anything by the square foot. I haven't for 25 fucking years.
And I'm not saying you, I'm saying, like, if you put a blanket production rate on everything, then it's no better than just charging by square foot.
And I'm not saying my way's right. It's just old school.
Everybody's got their own way. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand it because I'm trying to like reverse engineer and see how I can make my process better too.
I don't think that maybe my process isn't practical. That's the thing, right?
It's like, not practical for a scale, like a business that you want to hire out that aspect of your business too, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and most people are trying this year to grow their business, and I'm trying to cut $1 million out of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want to cut $1 million. My goal is to cut $1 million in sales this year. So, I mean, most people's goal is going to be to grow their business $1 million or whatever. But I want to do less.
Can you explain to us why?
That's business is too big. It's never what I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
We went from 500 to 1.1 to 1.7 to 2.5. That's too fast. Too much, too fast. I don't want to do it. And I'm too old for it. And I don't like
I just want to be.
And what am I doing it for? To like scale it for my kids that don't fucking want it?
Yeah.
And I think that I'd rather reduce staff. We have the staff we need to do the goal, like to get to the goals we want this year. I mean, I'm sure there's 8 million gurus that are going to tell me I'm fucking nuts, because if I really wanted to, I bet I could push this business to 4 million next year.
You could be the scale down guru. Everybody's the scale up guru.
But I'm building a business based on what makes me happy, not what makes a guru happy.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people building businesses based on what software and guru will tell them would make them happy, instead of what would actually make them happy.
I think a lot of people are building business based on what Instagram tells them is going to make them happy.
I agree with you 100%. So I don't think I had the happiest year last year personally. So, and I don't think taking my business from 2.5 to 3, I could easily add $1 million in sales easily overnight. I don't think that going to 3.5 million next year is going to make me happier. It's probably going to make me sadder. So why would I do it? I think reducing $1 million in sales and taking the business to where it belongs for everyone who works at the business. That doesn't mean we're not trying to grow in a different way and try to manipulate that same volume into something that's more satisfying for some of our staff. It's just a different way of doing things. What if that $1 million, I didn't make any fucking money on it?
Exactly.
That's it.
That's
not what I'm saying happened. I'm just saying, what if because that's not the reason that I want to make it less. That's not true.
Mhm.
But it could be like,
Yeah.
If I can do like I also think that for me, like it's an epic responsibility to have people's lives in your hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
I take that as an epic responsibility. Absolutely crazy responsibility to put people's lives into your hands.
Yeah.
And last year when we had 15 staff, I was like, this is a lot of fucking people plus their families, their dogs. They're all trusting that I can take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm just mentally not prepared as a person to take care of that many lives.
That's a big way to think of that. I never thought about having to put 8 lives in my hand.
Well, how many staff do you have?
8,
Okay,
9.
but how many of them are married?
Well,
How
one of
many?
them.
One. I
Maybe
love your
that's why
staff.
they work so
I
hard because
fucking
they have
love your
nothing to
staff
feel
so much. I love your staff so much. Like our staff have kids and lives and dogs and animals, and
Ours does not. One of my workers has 2 cats. One has 1 cat.
you're responsible for those fucking cats, Chad. Every morning,
I know.
when you wake up,
And
like
here they are dying in the mulch. No,
dying in
um,
the mulch so much.
I just never thought about how the magnitude of the situation that with a normal crew, you would be responsible for so many lives and the lives of not only the employees but the family around them,
Children. Yeah.
children.
It just, I woke up one morning in the middle of summer. I'm like, there's a lot of fucking shit I'm responsible for, considering I was a guy that was going to do walkways by myself 4 years ago.
That's wild.
When I hear people talk about like, okay, what if something bad did happen, work dries up, what are you gonna do? And they nonchalantly say something like, I'll just lay off some of my employees. And
I don't
they have
say that.
no, I'm not saying you.
No. I didn't mean, I know you're not saying I said.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I would never fucking say
Oh
that.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I know
right?
how you fucking feel about those people that say that kind of shit.
Yeah. It boggles my mind how unemotional, and maybe that's what it takes to be somebody who's going to grow a massive business, right? Well, I can guarantee you that's what it takes to
Absolutely what it takes.
Yeah.
And I could never do that.
Oh, I would
You have
never
a
do it.
plan in place if work dries up completely, which I mean, I'd like to think that it will never dry up completely. Maybe it would slow down to the point that we could maybe not have our foot on the gas 110% every single day. But if shit were to go so sour that maybe we're working 3 days a week or something like that, we're still going to offset with work at the yard, and we've saved a chunk of money so that if that ever happens, we're floating the guys through a season or two if shit just goes really wrong, right? But maybe like now that I know they don't have families and all that shit, maybe it's not as important.
Just fucking cut them loose. Fuck them.
Who cares about these cats?
I think there's too, and I understand people are pushing all that stuff because it's how they make a living. If you make a living teaching people to scale their business to sell it, then you're going to spend all day pushing, teaching people to scale their business to sell it.
Right.
For me, I have zero desire to sell this business. Like I don't see it being a sell. Like someone might take it over because of the staff and might take over like I don't know. I don't know how to scale the business, or maybe I don't desire to, or maybe it's just not a plan of mine. I don't know. I guess I always just view a lot of the people that are on our team as ride or die. Like we're all just going to ride together, and then we're all like, I just kind of view. I don't know. I know why people are doing it, because that's how they make a living, teaching people to scale their business to sell it. But how many? I would love to know how many, for all the amount of time and effort that's spent in landscaping companies trying to scale them to a sellable place, how many of them actually fucking sell?
How many get sold? Yeah, and what's the number that they get sold at?
And for
Right?
yeah, a good number, right? Like
I
what's that
need to see
multiple?
before I buy this guru crash course on scaling my business to sell it in 20 years. I want to see who's selling it and what it's sold for, who's buying it and what it's
Well,
sold
the guru doesn't know because he hasn't been in business for 20 fucking years.
for. That's in the guru's favor, right? Because and they won't be around in 20 years because
They'll be retired with all their guru money.
they'll be retired. With it. Like
And
that.
again, I don't think I think software has helped thousands of people run successful businesses. I do. I think that our business might even be better if we use software.
I can see that.
I just don't have the wherewithal to learn how to use it and implement it. And maybe we will find some maybe we will one day. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. I think I feel inherently, because obviously I spend time on social media. I think sometimes I feel inherently guilty, like I'm robbing myself of some kind of life experience. Like they're going to be like, when my life flashes before my eyes, when I have the inevitable heart attack, I feel like there's going to be a moment while it's flashing going, holy fuck, I never used any landscape software. This opportunity, some people's lives are going to flash before their eyes. Are going to be like, fuck, I never went to Hawaii. But for me, it's going to be, fuck, I never used any landscape software. I never got my production rates down on some days I honestly, I feel like I'm like, fuck, am I missing the boat here? Because I hate that I'm old. Everyone hates they're old. And I hate that maybe I am legitimately missing the boat on something that could make my life 1,000 times better. And I never stopped to smell the roses.
Look, any software is only as good as the information that you put into it.
Yeah.
Right. So
we all know all the information I put out is shit. So.
Here's something. So originally when I signed up to one of these software things a couple of years ago, I was going to try it, put all my numbers in the books, get things going. We're rolling, right? I didn't even know the numbers of what I paid for my trucks or my skid steers and all the shit that everybody is saying. You have to know this exact number down to the penny of what you paid for that truck and what your payment is and this and that and all this shit, right? And I didn't know a single fucking number. I knew, the skid steer's like 85 grand and the shovel's like 89 grand. And maybe we paid like 90 grand for this truck or something. And so I'm like fudging it right off the bat. So like this cannot go well if I'm not following the instructions from the very first step. So I'm like, let's kibosh this. Obviously, it's not for me at that point, right? I'm a little better now, but I don't know. But I didn't start off on a good foot, right?
So. How much time do you think you spent entering stuff, Mike?
How much time?
Honestly.
I don't know. It's hard. That would be impossible to calculate because
that's a lot of time, though. That's not making it sound like you didn't spend much. Just put it out there.
It's so hard to say because like I started with the spreadsheet, but that evolved into building out the budget and estimate spreadsheet, right? So to separate the time that I spent on my own numbers, to separate that from the work that I put into the spreadsheet, which is all at the same time, it'd be impossible to.
Do you think your business is enhanced with that stuff over when you did it with a pen and paper?
I think that the job costing aspect of if I was a larger business, it would make a lot of sense because that's where it comes into play, right? Is the data that you can get and you can accumulate and you can compare your job costing at the end of the job, but also year in and year out. Like right now, what I'm working on with the software is, let's say like closing rate, for example. If we have somebody's data from the previous year in terms of the closing rate, and they're starting a new season, we can look at their closing rate and be able to make assessments as to what is possibly going wrong. So outside of job costing, closing rate, what's going wrong, what's going right, what lead sources could they double down on because their closing rate's not really there. There's so much cool stuff that we can do with data, and that's the benefit of software.
So I used to keep track of closing rates, obviously not on software, but I see a big bet. Like I knew that I close, maybe not now, but I don't do enough leads anymore because I don't need enough work and I only go to a few quotes a year. But when I went to when I was trying to drive a lot of jobs, I know that like 95% of single women I close.
Right.
I did back then. 95. If I walked in a house and I looked down and there was no men's shoes there, I knew I was in good fucking shape on that job.
So imagine having multiple salespeople and you get a lead in and you can deduce from a phone call conversation of who that person is, and you can send your exact salesperson that you know closes a high percentage of that type of client, a client that's in their late 20s that has 2 kids and lives on this area of town, right? So that's definitely where I get excited when I'm kind of in this software building process, because putting in tools like that is really cool to me.
And that's I think that's super valuable if you're trying to hire salespeople. Like, but I guess you'd probably need to be expanding your business if you were trying to hire salespeople. Well, I think the software is great. Again, I think it's great. I just think that I'll never, for me personally, I think that I think sometimes there's a total lack of acknowledgement of people doing it a different way. Yes. Those people are made to feel that that's wrong. There's like 10 comments on there, and some of them are from young guys who are like, yeah, I do with pen and paper. And I feel like there's a ton, I think I know lots of the people who commented on that post. And I think for all of them, their businesses are going to get to a time and place maybe where they need software, but not because 7,000 fucking people made them feel guilty about it on social media.
You need to understand like what that software is going to do for you, and then make an educated decision based on that, and not just like panic into something. Because the worst thing to do would be to panic into something, decide a year or two later that it's not for you, and then to transfer into a whole different software, right?
Yes, I totally agree. This is a really heavy conversation for our podcast.
Well, it is not our worst hour, so.
Is it?
Not yet, because we started a little bit late. We're probably getting there now.
For an hour.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is a pretty heavy cup. Someone might be deriving value from this.
I am. I like this conversation. So